Guys, it's the end of an era. What era is that? The Ayla Bell reviews the awful mess that is the time travel mechanics in Miraculous Ladybug era. What's that? I already said I was done talking about that in my last time travel related video. Well, just like our friend who created Attack on Titan, I too shall have a second ending to this epic saga. Does that joke work? I stopped watching Attack on Titan after the first season. I just heard that there were 2 endings, so please let me know if that joke worked. And no, I have no interest in watching the rest of the series. Besides, I know most of the spoilers anyway. Also, if you want to have some happy times after the sadness and sorrow of the main story, I recommend Attack on Titan Junior High. It's super cute and fun, and I wish there were more seasons. Anyway, time travel in Miraculous Ladybug is a mess, and I've already talked about it so many times. In fact, I made this whole saga its own playlist. Yup. You can now watch the progression of me descending into madness as I try to understand and debunk the awful use of time travel in this show. Spoiler alert, the episode Cat Blanc made all of it a total mess. If you want to hear more, check out the videos on this playlist. So since I've spoken about this at length, you must be wondering what else I could possibly talk about. Well, stay tuned to find out. Hello everyone. My name's Ayla Bell, and I'm approaching my 100th video on this channel. So I figured I'd put a bookend to my first Miraculous Ladybug video.
But Aloe, the first time you talked about Miraculous was when you said it ripped off Shigokara.
Okay. Yeah, technically that was my very first Miraculous related video. But that video shared the spotlight with Shigokara. I'm referring to the first time I spoke about Miraculous on its own.
But Aloe, why not just continue the Shigokara comparison? It would be more poetic since that is the first time you even mentioned Miraculous.
Sure, I could, but other than a few extra points that were made in the comments to further prove my point that Miraculous was heavily inspired by Shigokara despite Astric refusing to acknowledge so, I don't think it would be enough to fill an entire video. Heck, I barely think that this is going to be enough content for a video, hence why I am padding the time out. In any case, what sparked this second finale? Well, the newest Miraculous Ladybug special was recently released, and it's still buzzing around the fandom, so why not add my part into the pond? However, seeing as it is me, I didn't watch the special, which should come to the surprise of absolutely no one. You know who I am by now. You understand my shtick. I don't watch Miraculous Ladybug.
But Aloe, you watched the movie.
It's not the show, it's different, and a different canon.
But you also watched the first episode of Season 5.
It was on mute the entire time. I didn't watch it properly, so I am still within the safety net of my personal meme.
But Aloe, why should you have any say in Miraculous when you've never watched it properly?
Because I can still have my opinions on the facts that I do know. There's no rule against that. Plus, it provides a different perspective to the show compared to most who have a more personal relationship with it. And I try to not talk about things that I don't know about. I stay within the confines of my knowledge base. If you don't know me at this point, I know 85 to 90% of what Miraculous is all about, and I know all major spoilers about the show, and who all the characters that matter are due to reading transcripts of episodes, watching clips on Instagram and YouTube, reading and watching spoilers and related fan comics, and watching others' reviews. I've been sucked into the chaos of this show in the most unconventional of ways. Though I'm sure my situation isn't all that unique, because I know a lot of people out there haven't watched or don't watch Miraculous, and yet they do watch reviews and stuff of it. The reviews are just entertaining. But I have gone beyond that, considering I have seen clips and transcripts and, everything else I said earlier. So yeah, I may not have watched the special, but I know the major spoilers from it and have watched some of the scenes. On mute. Anyway, what does this special have to do with time travel? Well, a commenter, sorry I forgot who you are because this was a couple months ago, asked me my thoughts on this special that hadn't come out yet, considering it took place in an alternate universe. They specifically asked how it would fit into my views of time travel in Miraculous, since I claimed once and for all that Miraculous was operating under a closed-loop time travel theory, and not a multiverse. Well, that got me thinking, and here's my answer. I'm still right. Miraculous does not operate under a multiverse theory as evidenced by Bunnix beginning to disappear in Cat Blanc. But then you might be asking, how does this special exist if multiverses aren't a thing? Well, my friend, I'm here to present to you the idea that there are two different types of multiverses. There are time travel multiverses in which there are different universes that branch off from one main timeline and are determined either by different choices that people have made / could have made, or come to be because of time travel meddling. And then there are parallel universe multiverses that exist similarly but not directly tied to each other. These universes exist not because of certain decisions that were or were not made, nor because of time travel. They simply exist. Sometimes they have things in common, and sometimes they don't. Think about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. And I'm talking about the movies, not the comics that inspired them. All of those universes have different spider people and different canons altogether. In one universe, Peter is the spider person. In another, Gwen. And in another, even a spider who gets bitten by a radioactive pig. And yes, you can make the argument that the Spider-Verse is connected, considering the ramifications of breaking canon events. And you'd be right in that thought. But these other universes are not determined by different branches in one timeline, even if it seems like they were. You can't convince me that the one universe that is made out of Legos, or the one that is completely in black and white, happened as a result of someone deciding to have tea versus coffee in the morning. No, they are different worlds altogether that happen to share a special connection. Miraculous Ladybug's multiverse is this kind of multiverse. It's a parallel universe unrelated to time travel or a shared timeline. We'll call this theory of parallel universes multiverse isolated. Therefore, I'm still right about it being a messy closed loop. If you're wondering what a closed loop is, it just basically means that any time travel hijinks that happen were meant to happen and will continue to happen in a loop. Any attempts to change things with time travel will result in you ending up with the past you starting precisely where you began. In this theory, time travel as an event was always meant to happen. It is a thing. It is a canon thing that happens in the timeline. This theory gives the illusion that one has the power to change their past / future, when in reality, those changes aren't changes at all, since they were meant to happen and, regardless of your awareness or not, were already happening because the time travel is a canon event in the timeline. I really hope that this makes sense. Just watch Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, okay? You're not affecting the future in the way that you think you're affecting it because you're actually doing precisely what you're supposed to be doing. If you're still confused, you can check out the Season 2 episode entitled It's About Time from My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Miraculous's depiction of time travel is messy because the episode Cat Blanc contradicts this theory. This theory that was confirmed 100% in the Season 5 premiere. Even Time Tagger, which came before Cat Blanc and has its own messy bits, has more consistency with the closed loop theory better than Cat Blanc, which, again, messes things up. Two time travel theories being used in one story is possible as long as both methods have different ways of being initiated. Like in MLP, the first evidence of time travel used the closed loop theory because the spell that was being used wasn't strong enough to change the future, whereas the stronger spell was able to change the future and thus operated under the Back to the Future theory. Miraculous could have pulled this off if the two theories that were being depicted had different origins. And they had the chance to do so, considering both the Snake and Bunny Miraculous have time powers. But no, the contradictions come exclusively from the Bunny Miraculous. I actually have no qualms with the Snake Miraculous. It's arguably the more powerful of the two, considering that one can actually change the future, which is probably why it has the limit of 2 minutes. The Bunny Miraculous operates under the closed loop theory, except for the one time that it didn't, and it's a mess. Anyway, again, the main thing I wanted to discuss was an amendment to a statement I made in a previous video. But before I explain further, If you're enjoying this video, then seize the moment and hit the like button and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. If you want to support me even more, then click join and become a channel member where you can get cool perks such as, but not limited to, early access to videos as well as live streams. Becoming a member will help me in my dream of having a creative career and providing more entertainment for all of you. Follow me on my socials in the description, and be sure to join our community Discord, link also in the description. If you're still watching at this point, put any time-related emoji in the comments. Thank you! Now, I'm not taking back anything I said about Miraculous's use of time travel, but I do want to fix how I approach the Back to the Future time travel theory. In that theory, simply put, if you go back in time and change something, then the future will be altered. Short and easy to understand. However, back then I said that this all took place on one timeline. But no, it doesn't. It can't. For you see, if this all occurred in one timeline, then Marty would have nothing to worry about because he'd exist again.
But Aloe, that doesn't make sense.
Let me explain. If there's only one timeline and others cannot branch off from that one and/or even exist, then if one were to go back in time and, say, accidentally make it so that they don't exist because their parents never got together, then theoretically, if they never existed, then they couldn't have been able to go back in time to make sure that they didn't exist. And thus, the change in the timeline can't happen since you don't exist to make it happen. In other words, the timeline will self-correct. Let's try to make this simpler. Sort of. It's complex, and there's no level of explaining that will not make it complex. But imagine if you had eggs this morning, and you decided you wanted cereal instead. You go back in time to make sure that you ate the cereal. But if you never ate the eggs to begin with, then you never would have gone back in time to tell yourself to eat the cereal. And so you never end up eating the cereal. The timeline self-corrects. This is the self-correction time travel theory, which I know sounds very similar to the closed loop theory. But the difference is that in the closed loop theory, you, or whoever is time traveling to the past, is naturally causing your current present to happen. The time travel is necessary for canon to happen. Whereas in the self-correction theory, nothing you do can change or influence fate. If you want to change something, you can't. I know. This is also super confusing. At the end of the day, it's all theoretical and super fictional, so you can technically say the rules are whatever you like when you write. All I ask is for logic and consistency. Anyway, the self-correction theory operates in two different variations. Variation 1 is the one I already described, where nothing can change via time travel no matter how hard you try. And Variation 2 allows tiny, minute changes and even alternate routes that result in the same outcome. Variation 2 is best seen in the 2002 movie The Time Machine. In this movie, a man goes back in time to try to prevent the death of his wife, but finds no matter how hard he tries, the timeline will correct itself and make sure she dies, regardless of how, at a certain time. In this version of this theory, there are certain events that are destined to happen and will happen, even if the way that it happens is different than the original. If anything, this just shows that the theory can be super strict in that nothing changes if you try to use time travel, or a little loose in that a few details can change, but overall, things will stay the same when you use time travel. But either way, Back to the Future does not use this theory. It uses a different theory. In fact, it uses a multiverse theory. But then you must be asking how that's possible since Marty and his siblings start to disappear. In regular time travel multiverses, different universes branch off due to different choices that were made, and multiple of the same character can exist. Call them variations, if you will. Well, in Back to the Future, there is one timeline, and when you go back in time and change something, that timeline branches off into a different timeline, just like in a regular multiverse. Except, the difference is that the original part of the timeline that got replaced by the new timeline starts to disappear until it no longer exists. That way, there still remains only one timeline. It's just no longer a straight line. I shall call this time travel theory the Jagged Timeline, or even the Multiverse Destroyed theory. I really desperately hope that this all makes sense. And so, after all of my hours of making videos critiquing Miraculous Ladybug and its poor use of time travel, I have come to the conclusion that there are 4 different types of time travel theories used throughout stories. There's the closed loop theory, best seen in My Little Pony Season 2 Episode 20, or even Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. There's multiverse saved, as in there are different branches in the timeline that are preserved and thrive, best seen in Dragon Ball Z. There's self-correcting, best seen in The Time Machine. And then there's the Jagged Timeline, otherwise known as Multiverse Destroyed, best seen in Back to the Future. We can add in Multiverse Isolated, which is not a time travel theory, but I'll just add it. This is what we see in Into the Spider-Verse, as well as Miraculous World Paris, Tales of Shadybug and Claw Noir. Besides, if the Paris special were time travel related, Little Miss Bunny thing over here would have intervened like she always does. But she didn't, because it's not. And once again, me amending my thoughts on how the time travel works in Back to the Future does not dispute any of my claims from the past. Because of Cat Blanc, the time travel in Miraculous is a mess, and I'm still pretty confident that I'm right on why. And with that, I can finally put an end to talking about this topic.
But Aloe, what did you think about the special in itself?
Me? My overall thoughts are that it didn't look too bad, to be honest. It seemed to be mostly competently done with a neat premise. The what-if scenarios, especially with Reverse Marinette and Adrien, were engaging. And I honestly love seeing a version of Ladybug where she can pull out different creations without limit and use them so creatively, aggressively, and competently in battle. The reverse Miraculous holders were actually throwing down much more effectively than the main heroes. I adore Shadybug's design, and it's honestly insulting all of the ways that Ladybug could have looked interesting, and yet the main Ladybug just chooses not to. It's also a shame the design Shady goes with after she reforms. It's a bit boring, but still more interesting than the OG Ladybug. I'm not a huge fan of Claw Noir's design, but that's just me. The unifications throughout the episode all looked pretty good as well, in my opinion. Seeing Shadybug and Claw Noir being petty towards each other was also fun. And it's cool seeing Gabe be more of a respectable human being. It was nice seeing the Butterfly Miraculous being used in the way it's intended to be used. I'm sure a lot of fans were curious to see that as well. The alternate universes they traveled through didn't seem all that exciting to me, nor did they seem all that creative. But I both appreciated and was annoyed with the anime universe. Appreciated because it's such a nice anime style, and also considering many of us agree that Miraculous should have stayed as an anime from the beginning. I was annoyed because we were teased with the anime, only for it not to be. Separately, I was annoyed that Chloe was once again the traumatizing bully. Apparently she's just bad in every universe. Gabe gets to be good, but she can't? Yep, seems fair to me. Makes complete sense. Good job there, Asterisk. You know what? I've complained about this enough times in past videos, so I'll just leave it alone. Reverse Marinette and Adrien appeared to get the Sunset Shimmer treatment, and that when they reformed, they became squeaky clean and lost their charming edge almost immediately. But who knows? Maybe if the writers continue to explore the reverse universe, they'll continue to pull a Sunset Shimmer by eventually remembering that they did in fact have an edge and should incorporate it into their personalities and flaws while still keeping them good. The only one-up they have over Sunset is that the reverse Adrien and Mari didn't want to be evil. They felt like they had to do the things that they did and were driven to it by unfair circumstances, and thus their reformation was more believable when they realized there was a better way to cope and or achieve their goals via Tak no Jutsu. Whereas Sunset just wanted power and reveled in being bad. In other words, reverse Adrien and Mari were written better than Sunset Shimmer. You know, now that I think about it, I wonder if Shadybug and Claw Noir have hurt people. I mean, they were enemies of the Resistance and worked for the enemy, so they probably did hurt people. Much of their Paris must hate them and not trust them. You know what? Yeah, we do need to explore them and the aftermath of all this. They truly are more interesting than the main duo in the main canon. It's a shame that the Miraculous World special, in which we explore different places in the world, had to take place in the least unique setting, that being the setting where the show takes place in for nearly every episode. But, I guess if it has good ideas and more than satisfactory writing, then I guess it's fine. Anyway, I shall now open the floor to all of you. What did you think about the Paris special? And how do you feel about my time travel saga, or time travel and Miraculous in general? And how do you feel about the multiverse situation we have now in the show? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think we're ever gonna see it again, or is this the last time the writers are even gonna care? Comment below and let's get this conversation started. And remember, I'm the Artistic Ayla Bell, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.